so that was season 1, ladies and gentlemen. Marcus, what are your immediate thoughts on the finale first, and then we'll go into the season as a whole?
I think like my comments will echo what I said in the last episode. I think the build up of tension in this episode was
Mm.
really good.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed how we saw Rhaenyra in this episode.
For sure.
I think
For
it's really
sure.
good to see her finally step into the role of queen. We've been waiting for it for 10 episodes. She's been waiting for it for her whole life. I think the
Mm-hmm.
writing really shone through. Um,
Mm.
Although in saying that, the Rhaenys hole kind of just got deeper and
Yeah.
deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But we allow it. I think that final 5-6 minutes was just like so good. You just
Mm.
knew something was going to happen, and
Mm.
we've been waiting for a quote unquote red wedding moment for a long time. This obviously wasn't on that
Nah,
level,
yeah, yeah.
but we were
Mm.
waiting for some Game of Thrones
Mm.
shit to happen, and this was definitely that. Um,
Mm.
it's mad. It's kind of crazy how we've got through 10 episodes. I think the writing has been solid across the board. I think the acting's
For
been
sure.
phenomenal. We've had a
For
lot of
sure.
birth scenes. Um, Matt Smith is my favorite out of all of them. Like Damon's, I think the most interesting character. I think he's
Fair
so
enough.
complex as a character. I want to know what the deal was at the end with him with the dragon. Like, is he gonna Jean Vaud JVC this and just like have two dragons and like do the splits and shit? Like, is he just recruiting the other dragons? Who are the dragon riders gonna be? Will the Baratheons join? Will the Starks join? So many questions. So much setup for the next season. Um, I love it. I love the show, dude. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, no, fair. Pretty much agree with all your points. I think as like the finale, I think it delivered pretty. I mean, it kind of like continued on with the tone of the season. There's also a part of me that always kind of, I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but there's a part of me that expects season finales to be like, big and dramatic and explosive and kind of like, there's gonna be shit popping off, right? Whereas I don't feel like as much of that happened with this finale. It was more like a continuation of the season. So I don't think it kind of like, I don't know. There was a part of me that wished that this season ended on a bang. Like this season ended on like a holy shit.
I think for me the word for that would be like closure in a way. Like I know what you mean, where this episode didn't to me feel like a closing episode to a season. It feels like they could easily have. I feel like we could have an episode 11 where like way more
True.
shit happens.
True. I do. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there was definitely closure in the sense where it felt like it did wrap up season 1 and it sets you up for season 2 in the plethora of ways that you've just mentioned. But there was also a part of me that wanted this episode to have like an insane moment. That being said, that just kind of reminded me of how in Game of Thrones it was always the penultimate episode that had the big moment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Red Wedding happened in like episode 9. John dying was maybe in episode 9. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's a Game of Thrones thing where the big shit happens penultimate episode. But that being said, I'm pretty sure season 1 had Ned Stark. Game of Thrones. Season 1 had Ned Stark's beheading being the final scene.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me that wanted or expected there to be like a like a gasp moment. The kid Jace, was Jace the one that died, right? Was it Jace or was it the other kid?
It's the little Jake. Just let me check.
Well, the kid that dies, right? Like,
yeah.
there obviously was like a, but at the same time, it was also like a, okay, the kid's dead. That being said, I think like the tension that was built, the lead up to that scene was incredible. We all kind of saw it like about to happen. We knew that there was gonna be a big moment. You could hear a needle drop kind of vibe, like it was definitely coming. But I wanted there to be, maybe not wanted, I expected there to be like a big moment. But that doesn't detract from the quality of this as a finale. I don't think it detracts the quality of it as an episode or the season as a whole. But yeah, I think like, you know, I'm just hella pumped, and actually there was also a part of me that's kind of glad that they didn't end with like a giant action set piece or a giant crazy moment, because for me it kind of just makes it like this show is meant to be just about the politics. This show is meant to be, you know, grounded, so to speak. So I did like that. But there's also a part of me that has some thoughts on the season as a whole. But before I get into that, Marcus, what are your thoughts of season 1 as a whole?
I think season 1 has given us some of the best writing that TV nowadays is like. I think we're like, this is gold standard for me. Out of everything that's coming out at the moment, there's nothing else that's really like turned my head in terms of writing. And I think House of the Dragons, and I think that's largely in part due to George R.R. Martin's involvement in the show. It hands down beats anything else that's coming. I don't know if you guys have seen our like season 1 review of the Rings of Power, but you know, writing is the main complaint, and that this show has the opposite problem of that.
For sure.
The writing is so solid, and it's like you just said, Seb. This season really did showcase the politics of it all, which I thought was really exciting. I thought it was really
100%,
interesting.
100%.
And I actually think it was like there was a lot of world building going on, and not in the literal sense of Westeros, but in the sense of like the Targaryen world is being built. The Hightower world is being built. We're getting these family trees of politics and dynamics. And it's been done in quite a short time when you think about it. Like 10, 50-odd minute episodes. That's not actually a lot of screen time. And we've actually managed to get a lot in 10 episodes. But including, 3 time jumps. But none of it felt out of place to me. It all made sense. There was really strong character development across the board, as well as plot development, as well as set up for the future.
100%. And I think that's why I wasn't that kind of disappointed in the fact that there wasn't like a giant battle or dramatic kind of crazy scene. Was they're almost setting it up to be not that kind of show, even though there have been these moments, right? We had Daemon versus the Crab Eater. We had even Rhaenys bursting out of the dragon pit counts as like a big moment, such as, you know, big action moment. But it almost feels like it's not that kind of show, if that makes sense. It almost feels like this is like a show where action is meant to be secondary.
Yeah.
The prime main focus of it is how a political drama set in a fantasy world can still be just as exciting and exhilarating as something that focuses all on action. And I think that's why this show and the writing of this season excels so much, is because it is trying to say that we don't need all the action. We don't need all the chaos and all the freaking dragon fire. Not yet, at least. Season 2 or 3 will probably be like that.
I think it's going to ramp up. Yeah.
For sure. But as, season 1 on its own for now, we can be good without having all the fancy. I guess it's easy to say this now and easy as to compare, but we don't need to be like Rings of Power. Oh!
Yeah.
I guess it's like the biggest kind of like FU to Rings of Power. Just like, we don't need the budget. We don't need to be the most expensive show in the world with all the crazy set pieces and whatnot, and we can still deliver. And yeah, that, like you said, that was just an incredible season of TV. Now, the point I wanted to make earlier, and it's less of an opinion of mine and more of like a kind of want to see what you think. Would you say that they perhaps played it safe for season 1? Like, would you say that arguably, because look, and again, I'm not saying, I haven't read like any people's thoughts or any other people's reviews or opinions on it, but there's a part of me that could see that if anyone did have anything bad to say about House of Dragons, would be they didn't really take risks. Would you agree? Would you think that? Because
I
there's a
don't.
part of me that might kind of see where they're coming from.
It's
Where
not something that ever crossed my mind when watching this.
okay, that's good. That's really good.
But I feel that's a testament to the writing because I genuinely think
For
the
sure.
writing was so solid.
So good. Probably the
but-
best writing we've seen in a TV show. In a
Yeah,
while.
I agree with that statement. But I guess I can kind of see where
'Cause,
where
like-
something like that would come from. But in saying that, I would counter that with it. You know, I would want something. I prefer the quality we got rather than taking the risk of them taking risks and risking
100%.
something
100%.
subpar like we got in season
'Cause-
8 of Game of Thrones.
I'm not trying to make this as a comparison once again, but do you remember people's opinions on The Force Awakens when Force Awakens first came out? Despite Marcus and I being pretty big fans of the show, of that movie, a lot of people, and rightfully so, were like, that's basically a clone of A New Hope. It's basically a remake, a rehash of
Yeah.
something they've already done. And that's kind of what got me thinking, like, may people think that potentially about this show, of them being like, oh, it's just basically a clone of early seasons Game of Thrones, nothing's really new.
I mean,
But
there were definitely character parallels. I think in the first one or two
For sure.
episode reactions,
Definitely,
we were
definitely.
making Littlefinger comparisons. We were comparing characters to other characters, but I feel that's
For
just
sure.
natural for any prequel. That is going to happen. Comparisons will happen no matter what. And I can understand if a few people are like, this was a little safe. This show was a little safe. I can understand someone wanting a little more action perhaps out of the show, or a little more danger perhaps.
I don't think it's like about the action per se. Like, okay, firstly, 100% there will be people that say it's lacking action, but that's more like the TikTokification of the world,
Yeah.
where people want constant gratification and constant action. But I would say those are like, you know, the Marvel TikTok
People of low taste. Yes.
I guess, like they're
Yeah.
the people that just want constant shit happening. But
low attention
I think we can
spans.
put those. Yeah, we could put those people aside, because I was just thinking less of the action side, but more like, would people maybe think that it played it safe just as a show, just from the story perspective. But I agree with you, to be fair. I feel like it's natural to have those kind of parallels. to
Yeah,
the
I think from that perspective, then no. I think this was just well written.
for sure.
It's just
And
really well written. What can I say?
It's the same thing I would say and argue for when defending The Force Awakens. By the way, parenthesis, Force Awakens is the only good one. The rest are shit.
The rest are shit. Yeah.
But I can see why so many people hate The Force Awakens as well. But anyway, back to Game of Thrones. I will defend it the same as I defend Force Awakens, which is, I think it's better to play it safe, and I can see why they would play it asterisk safe. I don't think they really did, but I think it's better for them to simply be like, here's the world, especially for season 1. Here's the world, here are the characters, here are the relationships, let's focus on that. So that's kind of, you know, I think that's the right way to do it.
I think it's also really important to note the context of season 1 as well, because when you think about it, no one was looking forward to this. Everyone was shitting themselves.
Exactly.
Everyone was like, oh my god, including you and I. We were both like, this is going to be trash. And that's because, you know, the sour taste we were left with the ending of Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, if you were going to say they played it safe contextually, yeah, they probably did. But I understand why. And I'm happy they did, because we got what we want.
For sure.
Like, this show is basically, you know, it's not reinventing the wheel, but it's a fucking good wheel.
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
It doesn't matter.
That's a great point. 100%. I agree. I think, yes, we may not necessarily have gotten the most groundbreaking show of all time. We didn't really necessarily get anything new per se, but not every show needs to be groundbreaking in that sense. Not every story needs to be completely new and subversive. And that being said, this is if someone would say that they were playing it safe. I think, it. Despite all that, I think like they did so well, and they did deliver on so many kind of like plot twists and kind of expectation subversions.
Shout out to Kaiser Soze.
Oh, 100%.
Yo,
I was about to say
the foot memes. Oh.
But I was about to say, like, he's probably the character I'm most intrigued about. I think Kaiser Soze. What is his real name?
Kaiser Soze.
Kaiser Soze is so good in this. Like, he's genuinely just such an interesting character where, like, he's like up to some sick shit.
Yeah, he's Littlefinger to the max. Yeah.
But I mean, for me, because you said Daemon was your favorite character, for me, my favorite character remains to be Alicent. I think she is the most compelling character.
Yeah.
So well written. She has her own arc. The acting is phenomenal, but her arc and her motivations are just so like layered.
Yeah.
I think like
she's a three-dimensional character.
So three-dimensional. I mean, even from her being a young kind of kid up till now, I already kind of mentioned this in the last review that we did, but yeah, for me, Alicent, such an incredible character. Daemon as well, such an incredible character. I'm also very intrigued by Aemond, actually. I think he's
good. I think he's going to pan out to be very
villain.
Interesting, because I think what we saw at the end there when he killed Jace,
remorse potentially.
I think it was remorse, shock,
regret.
I mean, because it wasn't the intent. Like, I think his intent was to scare him, and his dragon just decided to
disobeyed.
Disobeyed and kill him. That's obviously a bad dragon. He's gonna not have dinner for a few days, but it is it was interesting to see him break character, because we've always seen him as
we've seen him as such a stoic kind of cold,
he's just a Daemon wannabe basically, but like it was just really interesting to see his character break and see that he has emotions.
To see almost pre-evil Aemond when he was a kid, when he was still like a nice kid.
The Aemond that we could have got. And I think the interesting thing about House of the Dragon is there are so many conversations that I see online about like what could have been. Like, what if Alicent had accepted Rhaenyra's original offer of like, marrying their kids? Like, what could have been? And I think that's the great thing about this show is, as far as I can tell, the community, unlike, the Rings of Power, has been really positive towards one another. It's been like very engaging. Everyone's kind
almost
of like enjoying
unanimous
it together.
Even. Everyone's very unanimous.
It feels very positive to be a part of this community where people are like really behind this show. And I think the only moment they haven't been is, Rhaenys.
Probably, yeah.
But we can let that slide. Like, one bad moment of writing in 10 episodes, I can live with that.
See, I guess like I'm trying to defend the actions of Rhaenys. I can't think of anything.
You can't.
It's genuinely hard. Just like you should have just killed them all.
Especially when you chose sides. Like, if she didn't choose sides and she remained like neutral.
I don't know. I feel like she should have stayed neutral.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, I feel like she should have stayed neutral, and Corlys maybe would be like, I'm joining in the war.
Because it's more like Corlys's character to be like, let's just go.
To join in.
And I know he's been like sick and stuff, but like that doesn't mean he's gonna like, randomly all of a sudden just change character, change heart.
I mean, the fact that she's now part of the war effort, I feel like every day in real life, if this were happen, every day people would be like, you could have just done it. You could have just ended all our anguish and pain.
I mean, it's like Daemon called her out on it.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know. I think like that's for sure. That's definitely one of those moments in the entire season 1 where everyone can pretty much almost unanimously again agree on, which adds to your point of everyone is pretty unanimous on our opinions.
So basically what's going to happen is, for the rest of this show's existence, whenever something bad happens to the blacks, I'm gonna sit
Yeah.
there and be like, "Fuck you, Rhaenys. Fuck
It
you.
was you.
It was you.
It was you.
She killed Jace. Rhaenys killed Jace.
Mm.
Legit.
I mean, to a certain extent, yes. Legit, yes. She can technically take the blame for everything from
I have
here
to say
on
though,
out.
it was kind of dumb to say. I understand the pros of sending your sons to like go secure these alliances, but it's dumb. No, no
Yeah.
Kingsguard. I mean, like, yeah, you could ferry them, I suppose.
I guess,
know-
like, no one expects the messenger to get hit, but then I just remembered Damon beat up the last messenger
Yeah,
that
literally,
he
like,
received.
I feel like Damon
Uh,
should have said something. Damon should have been like, take some men. I mean, it's not like they would have made a difference, but it's more. At least you would have taken precaution, because this show has always shown us that messengers usually arrive with like, it's not just one dude, it's usually like a few.
But I guess, like, this just kind of maybe, I don't know. I guess, like, this was meant to kind of show how Rhaenyra was naive to
Maybe-
a certain
yeah,
extent,
yeah.
or maybe, like, you know, no one just expected the messengers, especially a messenger of that stature. No one would
True,
expect
yeah.
an act of war to begin like that. Like, no one would expect, like, oh, I'm gonna kill the sun. Which I guess just shows the naivete of Rhaenyra. I mean, you know, during the episode, you and I were both like, surely someone would just be like, screw the rules of engagement. Let's just kill
Dude, you
Otto
would,
now.
like,
Let's
Daemon
kill
tried.
Daemon now.
Daemon tried.
Let's kill all of them now.
I really wish Damon had his way and just killed Otto. Can you imagine like how much just how much effort that would save?
And the thing is, Game of Thrones feels like that kind of show where someone would do that. Would just be like, I mean, let's be real. I mean, Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, would probably have advised that. Or if he were in power, he probably would have been like, do you know what? Kill the guy right now. Cersei would have killed the guy right
100%.
now. 100%.
The quote
I guess
unquote
that goes.
bad guys would do these things.
And fair enough, you know.
I mean, hey man, if I was in this world, the second I'd be like, Otto, here, have a cup of wine, mate. Oh, psych, it's poison. Like,
I mean, that's just the world that they've written and established. But I guess that's why people are so intrigued by the show, because they've set it up, and like you said, they built this world where we were just constantly like, oh, who's gonna betray someone? Who's gonna die?
Yeah.
Which goes back to my original point of maybe that's why I was expecting there to be like a big event to happen at the end of the season, was because they set up this world of double crosses and backstabbing and crazy shit happening. But again, it doesn't, for me, it still doesn't distract from the fact that that was an incredible episode. That was an incredible season. I'm hella pumped for season 2. Out of 10, Marcus, what would you give season 1 of House of the Dragon?
I've been thinking about this, right? I've been thinking about it all week before today. 9. It's a 9 out of 10. Including today's episode, it's a 9 out of 10. I could allow the release thing. I genuinely think the writing is just phenomenal.
Fair enough. I'd have to agree. I mean, I think that was a damn near perfect season of television. The Rhaenys thing is annoying, but again, forgivable.
Yeah.
Would you say that this belongs in, you know, the Hall of Fame of Game of Thrones? Like season 1 till like 4?
Honestly.
Season 1 till 6 even? Do you think that this is on par?
I think
Does
it's
this
on par.
enter that Hall of Fame?
I think the writing has been on par.
Fair enough.
IMO.
Fair enough.
I think the writing has been on par. I think the acting's definitely been. I think everything's been on par. That's why I'm so excited for more. As long as George is involved,
It feels like that they've kind of, you know, in some ways, I see this as their apology almost.
We're sorry.
It'll never excuse the atrociousness of the final season, but I think now they want to make it up to us by being like, this show can be as good as the original. So I guess we'll see. But ladies and gentlemen, what did you think about the episode? Did you like it? Did you not? let us know in the comments below. Marcus, do the outro.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button. It helps so much. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our videos, because we post things weekly for all sorts of stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Marcus.
And I've been Seb. Peace!
That was lit.